Welcome one and all to the Eurostars Tour. We're delighted to have you here with us at Memorial Stadium, home of the Seattle Cascades, for the second game of the Eurostars series this year, where some of Europe's best female athletes will be facing off against Seattle Riot. My name is Hannah Pendlebury, and I'm joined in the booth this fine Washington evening by Adriana Beard. Adriana, how are you feeling about the matchup between these two big-name teams?
Understandably excited. I cannot wait to see the international flair from the Eurostars against the World Championship team, Riot.
Excellent. So what's your relationship to the ultimate community here in Seattle?
I'm a mom, I'm a former coach, I'm a player. I've played with Riot and their Masters team at the World Championships last year and at the National Championships this year, and then a good friend.
Excellent, excellent. So you know a lot of these players quite well?
Yes, yes indeed. Yep, happy, very lucky to be here.
Perfect. So what's your relationship then to the Eurostars Tour?
It goes way back to when I very first started playing Ultimate in Texas. Katie and Rebecca Forth, Bex, who's the captain of the team this year, is invited me to join you in the booth, which is a great pleasure. But that's how I started playing Frisbee down in Texas with them.
Excellent. Well, happy birthday to Katie and to Bex Forth, the twins, as you already mentioned, the captain. And to be honest, they're just organisation and, Bex is the individual who wears a lot of caps for the Eurostars Tour. It is her baby, as it were. Unfortunately, we don't have the presence of her wonderful children on the sideline this fine evening, but I'm sure Henrietta, Hugo and Felix are all watching along at home with their dad Sol. So hello to the Forth family. Glad to have you here with us. So obviously this is game number 2. We got eyes on San Diego's Wildfire, but a few days ago, next up on the tour will be, of course, San Francisco. We'll be heading out to play against Fury. But in terms of the game, AJ, you said you were able to tune into the live stream on that one. What happened?
It was a phenomenal game. There were some exceptional bids, both offensively and defensively, to really keep the game going. There was a lot of challenges for the Eurostars team in their deep game, which is what they tend to play really, really well. And the Wildfire brought a lot of energy to that game.
They certainly did. First time appearance for Wildfire on the Eurostars Tour. Delighted to have them along. That game, of course, being hosted by the San Diego Growlers. But Riot, no stranger to the Eurostars. This is the third time we're seeing them appearing in this particular game series. One win apiece thus far. Riot took first blood with a significant and healthy margin in 2017. But last year, off the back of their World Championship in Cincinnati, Riot suffered a loss to the Eurostars Tour. So all to play for. Do you reckon, is your money on any one team in particular, AJ?
I was actually chatting with Kelly Vegas before the game, and she said that is actually something that's top of mind for them, being able to shake off the day of work and other things and come here on a home field, which is really familiar to them, and still bring their game. So I think they might have a fire in their belly today to run this game.
Certainly. Well, this is Riot's only home game this entire season, so they've been encouraging their young fans, especially you mentioned on Seattle as a community and Riot as a team are really giving towards their local scene. We were talking a little bit here in the booth, AJ, about the fact that there's a program called Age Up, which I think you were involved with. Is that correct?
Yes, the All-Girl Everything Ultimate program is very near and dear to my heart. I got involved early when my daughter was a baby and actually was a coach, a volunteer coach for their first and second cohort of middle school girls, one of which is playing tonight with Riot. We'll be talking a bit about
who is that individual?
Yep. And since then, I haven't had as much time to be able to coach and volunteer directly with the org, but I do as much as I can as a donor and bringing people to their upcoming family feast this October. So if you're in Seattle and interested in supporting them in that way, definitely join us there.
Perfect. What date is that, do you know? I'm putting you on the spot here, AJ.
Putting me on the spot, yeah. I believe it's October 17th at King's Hall.
Excellent. Well, we'll definitely fact check that one so we can invite you all along to that event to come out and support coaching of girls in Ultimate. So to talk about a little bit more about the meaning behind this game, the whole series of the Eurostars Tour is has been established to promote gender equity in Ultimate through games and also coaching clinics. They have their goals as to inspire women and girls worldwide, to highlight European female athletes at the top level, provide opportunities for that group of individuals, and share spirit globally, which is a thing close to your heart, I believe, AJ, and also just to promote female athletes and female identifying athletes in terms of those who play in the women's or Women X divisions. Seattle as a community is obviously a front runner in gender equity. Women and girls is the semantic focus of the Eurostars tour, but it's only one part of the gender equity puzzle. Obviously, Seattle, as I say, they sort of lead the charge there, but it's starting to translate across the pond, AJ. I'm not sure if you're familiar with what's going on in that scene, really.
No, not as much.
But to kind of give you a little bit of the flavour of what's happening in Europe, it's becoming kind of, coming to the forefront at one of the premier Ultimate tournaments, Windmill Wind, well, was what called Windmill Wind-Up, now just Windmill. So there was actually a gender equity clinic that was happening at that event that was sort of put together by Rainbow Brigade, which is a sort of a club team that's been made up of various different nationalities and identities and individuals, which has been fantastic to see. Some North Americans coming across for that event to help make that workshop happen. But also, it's getting even further afield than Europe. I know at the Asia Oceanic Guts Championship, there was a gender equity discussion and clinic there, which obviously helped with the Black Widows team coming out of Asia, promoting their female athletes. So there seems to be a lot of strong women coming to the forefront in Ultimate, which is just so fantastic to see, and we're delighted to be a part of it.
Yeah, representation like this and other people using their voices and their incredible play helps create that stage for people to feel confident to stand up.
Exactly. And as we say, women and girls only being one part of the gender equity puzzle, you've been involved, AJ, with another incredible program, which is the Color of Ultimate. How was that for you? Because you played in that event.
I did. The Atlanta committee of organizers created that event for Atlanta. It was actually the second installation there. They had their first one in Alabama. And what it was an incredible celebration of all the different colors of Ultimate that are represented that don't often feel like they have a voice in the Ultimate community today, born out of mostly college students and people of a certain either socioeconomic or racial identity. It was really powerful sharing stories with each other about our experiences. There was probably about 30 years represented of players and time playing, and how things, some of them have changed and some haven't. Really. But that community building and the sharing and lifting each other up was an incredible theme to walk away from that weekend.
Indeed, and that's what these connections with all of these different events that are aimed at bringing people forward who perhaps might be in a marginalised or underrepresented kind of community in one shape or another. This is what it's all about, connecting those individuals. As you see there, some hugs being shared off the trotting to the sideline. Eurostars and Riot getting themselves prepared to start this match up. I believe we've just had the flip between the two teams. Not sure who's coming out on offense and defense. We've not got our walkie-talkies to our ears right this moment. But we're going to take a brief break to see some moments from our sponsors. I think our first one will actually be one we're going to give you a bit of a background on. That's
An absolutely phenomenal play. And that is a Eurostars win against the current world champions, Seattle Riot. To Laura Faralfi, can she reel it in? Yes, she can, as that disc dipped perfectly into her hands.
So plays there, her highlight reel to introduce. We're delighted to be sponsored this evening by Unify Consulting. AJ, what's that company all about?
It is about bringing people-powered, data-driven solutions to our clients in the Seattle area and San Francisco. So we're very excited to use data, as I bet many of these coaches here are actually helping their players understand what their numbers mean to the success of the team and their own fitness. And we also do that with, sadly, I'm the only Ultimate player in the company. I've been trying hard to recruit, but we're there to help you out with your tough management and technology consulting problems.
Excellent. Well, if you want to find out more about Unify Consulting, what's the web address for that one?
That's unifyconsulting.com.
Excellent. So, about to get play underway. Riot starting on defense. Gina Titcomb there with the disc in hand, preparing for the pull. Not seem to be gesturing to Lasma Slubitska on the sideline. But how are you feeling ahead of this game? We've got some music pumping here in the stadium, AJ.
Yeah, end of the workday doesn't mean anything at this point. The energy is raising up in here.
It certainly is so. But a few breathless moments from starting out this game. Both teams coming in having one win to their names. Who's going to come out victors this time? Of course, the scoring system here in the Eurostars Americas Pro Cup. It is 3 points for a win of 4 or more, 2 points for a win by 2 or 3, 1 point if you take it in universe, as Wildfire found in San Diego a few days ago. But action now underway, getting us off. Liv Kowalczak centering the disc to Anna Gerner, the player who of course got that huge universe point layout to snag the disc away from Wildfire. Ines Bringel now of Portugal. Back to Gerner. Has Schneidel coming underneath. Going to have to pop it up for a nice high release reset to Bringel. Riot doing close person coverage in the opening point of this match. Kundalita is going to overthrow a little bit. Gerner has a look, but just nothing she can do. Just sailing too far. So Riot first break opportunity. Valeria Cardenas, a Colombian import from former Revolution team, here playing in Seattle for this season. Delighted to have her on the field. One of the most capable throwers in the world. Nice pop cheeky inside, finds Titcomb. Nice movement round the back for Seattle. Far side, pops in. Oh, and a huge layout. Doll going up big. Looks like there's going to be a strip call. Two players discussing that. Looks like the disc is going to stay in the hands of Riot. So back in the action. Nice around. Titcomb on the goal line. Kundalita, nice wide marks, big statured player, but a cheeky inside shot into the palms of Valeria Cardenas for the score, and it's a break for Riot to start us off.
It's an exciting start to the game. Like I mentioned earlier, they seem to be pretty hungry for taking the win on this one. They don't like being surprised after coming off championships like it was last year.
I have to say, Riot is one of those teams that has a wee bit of a reputation for not peaking twice in a season. It seems like they're obviously, if I say there seems like it definitely is the case that Riot is phenomenally successful at the World Championship level. I believe they have 1 bronze and 2 World Championship titles. They took it in 2018 last year with that slightly bizarre finish after the lightning and thunder and lightning, very, very frightening delay that forced that championship to be fought for on a turf service against Revolution. But in terms of obviously the previous year in Lecco, another tournament that was affected and impacted by poor weather. Yes, indeed, they got #Leccoed, but managed to snag a gold medal there. This event obviously not part of the regular season. Where are we at actually, AJ, in terms of Riot's journey in USAU calendar?
They just wrapped up the Pro Flight series this past weekend, where they came in through the semifinals, I believe, in the weekend, and they made it on. But they are not done with their season. They still have the national championships coming up.
Indeed, and obviously a stellar performance in season means you do get to bypass sectionals and advance straight to regionals. But San Diego will be hosting USAU Nationals this season, so if you're a fan and live anywhere near that area, make sure you get yourself down and watch some action in person. It's always a delight to bring you this coverage, but better to see it and enjoy the atmosphere at the game. So Domanskaya on the disc, the Russian, 6'3" tall, finds fourth on the far side. Nice loose mark from Riot, stifling the upfield options. Good movement. Kubitska with the disc, playing on a sprained ankle, but 8 days ago. Mondiaux of France finds Domanskaya, puts it into the end zone. The shot is good, and who else but Sarah Melvin with another score for the Eurostars, leveling it up here at 1 apiece.
I don't know if many of you got to see the game against Wildfire, but Sarah Melvin had an absolutely phenomenal layout save, as Bex called it out, for the throw that she put up to her. It apparently has been retweeted in the Ireland equivalent of Twitter, I guess I should say. And it's making great excitement for Women's Ultimate there.
I think they do use normal Twitter. It's not some potato-based Twitter. I believe it's like your aisle. Although I do have to call out the young man Liam Grant. She's one of our wonderful commentators at the World Scene. Doesn't have Twitter, refuses to join it, so he can't be retweeting any stellar plays from Melvin. Yet that hero save was, oh my goodness, just exactly what you want to see from a young female athlete such as Melvin, who was once dubbed, in the words of, oh no, his name's just dropped out of my head, one of my former teammates, as the best female player in Europe. That's one of the gents who's moved over to Clapham. His name will eventually pop into my brain, but for the meantime, Riot are going to get us back underway on offense. First time we're going to get a look at their O-line, and they put up a beautiful hanging shot sitting exactly into the perfect space. An immediate score thereafter. What a play, getting us underway for Riot's O-line. Great work there. The number 44, Abby Abramovich there, just taking it down and then immediately finding, is that Sue in the end zone?
That was Bailey.
There you go, Sennheiser. I have to apologise already for the names for Riot. My roster, my laptop's been having a bit of technical issues, and so my roster did disappear from me at the start of this game.
It's because you are in a huge tech city like Seattle, so we wanted you to know that we got you. We got you taken care of.
Perfect. Well, we are slowly breathing life back into the technology here up in the booth, but that's a great way for Seattle's O-line to come out strong and firing. What do you think of that offensive possession, AJ?
Only 3 shots needed to get it into the end zone. A big throw from Melissa Weatherford is really her game. She sees the field really well. She understands how and where to put it to her teammates, and she can read the defense in order to make those decisions. Well, perfect placement from Weatherford on that shot, resulting in a fairly easy score for Riot. Cardenas is going to pull it though. See if they can snag another break in the early stages of this match. Mondiaux throwing a hammer over the top into the palms of Kenneth. The young player, club teams of Reading and Iceni have been giving her lots of support on social media, but that's a distance going to require a little bit of attention. Melvin calling the foul, uncontested immediately by the defender. A great play there. Just, it looked like the disc was a good separation for Melvin, but just sat a little bit too long.
it's like that's Samia Ismail there coming into play. The individual you already name-checked, AJ, coming out of that Age Up program.
That's right.
And an easy pop for the Eurostars, pushes their second one on the board. A little bit of discussion between the players, but all good, leveling us back up. Seattle not able to take a second break, but sitting pretty with one to their name.
Samia Ismail was actually featured on Ultiworld for the block of the month with her stellar foot block in a game at a tournament recently. But like I said, she's been playing since she was a middle schooler and has developed into an incredible young woman, a real representative for her neighborhood, the south end of Seattle, which is where I also live, and for just really working hard and bringing your best self to the game.
Well, and that is one of the things that Riot try to achieve is, you know, they have their 3 words that represent them, which are, if I can find the correct part of my laptop, the technology will not fail me, I'm sure. It's trust, love, and excellence. Don't even need my notes. Look at that. Trust, love, and excellence, which I really feel is such a key part of Riot's success. You know, it's they trust each other as well as their opponents. They have such respect when they play. But in terms of their ultimate goal, it's not just being really good at playing with a disc, it's being better people. And I think that also echoes some of the kind of initiatives and culture of Seattle, Disc NW at large. Or is it Disc Northwest?
We tend to say Disc Northwest, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep. NW doesn't flow quite as well.
Yes, I was putting my lips around that saying of it. Didn't seem quite right, but that's a huge play from Liv Kowalczak coming in and sneaking the disc away in front of Kelly Johnson.
Yeah, it seemed like a bit of a miscommunication, an expectation that the disc would get there a little faster.
So the Eurostars' opportunity to snag a break back here and get us back on serve. Kowalczak with the necky and bright orange. Lindroth there, unable to make the connection though. See the frustration there on Grażyna Szlabiczka. And a nice pass. A little bit of a, maybe not quite the intended target, but snaffled up well. Vaju pops across to Yoshida. Johnson takes the around. Weatherford already thrown a delicious deep shot. Yoshida looking around for the reset. Weatherford now trying to hit that break sign and does so with an around. An immediate connection afterwards, laying out player. Perhaps a bit of contact, but heaping on the pressure. I think that's Lindroth there. Getting up big for the Eurostars. An uncontested foul. Oh, sorry, uncontested strip. So therefore a goal. One of the confusing parts of the WFDF hand signal set, we are actually playing on the USAU Rules 11th edition here in the Eurostars Tour, but we're using the WFDF World Flying Disc Federation, WFDF or WIFDF, depending on your denomination. European voices generally tend to say WFDF, but I believe it's WIFDF here over in the States.
We do like to say WIFDF, that's right.
But we're using the WFDF hand signals just to make things nice and clear for those of you tuning in at home. If you are watching this live stream, you can reach out to us on Twitter. I'm at DiscGal31. AJ, can the fans get in touch with you on any social media?
They sure can't. I am a stalwart and have refused to join Twitter, so you're going to have to look me up a little old school style. I hear Facebook's the 50 and older crowd, so I'm inching my way there, but that's where I am.
You're right, it's the Silver Surfers. I know that through my job outside of Ultimate, that they're the largest growing group on Facebook. But if you, in terms of, if you were to perhaps compare the populations of some of the largest countries in the world, Facebook's bigger than them. How's about that for a weird fact?
Well, thank you for bringing the obscure to the live stream.
Well, back on the Wildfire game, as you all know, AJ, having tuned into that one, we managed to end up talking about The Price is Right, which was established in the 1970s in the US and then was a transplant across the pond into dear old England, merry England, where I grew up. So bringing you all the facts you could ever desire. bit of trivia information. Perhaps if you're, trying to put together a pub quiz later on, we can give you some of those too. So Montijo getting us underway to Melvin. Up into the arms of Tizik. Oh, nearly a redemption there. Klubitska there, not able to quite make the explosive redeem the overthrow to Tizik. So Riot, another opportunity to snag a break after the Eurostars failed to get us back on serve. Oh, Dumanskaya goes up big. A little bit of contact afterwards with Bailey Zannheiser. But all is fair in ultimate there. Montijo fakes and throws a big hammer.
Love seeing the overhead.
Well, we saw lots of expansive throws from Eurostars in the first game, and that's a huge reception. Great grab over the heads of two Riot players. Sensational stuff from Klubitska, who, as we already mentioned, is playing through a sprained ankle, but clearly no dampening on her plyometric abilities.
No, she definitely went up confidently and capable with her body there, with two defenders squeezing her in there.
So 3 apiece still here. 85 minutes left on the clock. This game will go to either a full 100 minutes or to 15. None of the games thus yet on the Eurostars tour have actually gone to full time yet. They've all reached the 15 score point cap one way or another, which I think just really speaks, AJ, to the quality of these teams.
Yeah, that and the pace of the women's game. It's something that us older folks are marvel at these days, is the pace. With those cheeky throws, create a lot more opportunities to move the disc down the field faster that you didn't see 10, 15 years ago, if I can date myself.
Well, can you date yourself? I mean, is that a thing? Can you match with yourself on a dating app?
Hey.
Having a bit of fun up here in the booth. So Riot now, O-line out on the field once again. Johnson to Verzu. It's going to be a heavy bout of contact on that throw, I think, from the back of Schneidl, the Austrian player with the number 9 on her back. And wonderful to see Verzu out on the field. We actually have the delight of staying with their family, the Seattle community hosting the players, which is not unusual in Ultimate. Generally, that tends to be one of my favourite features. Whenever you travel somewhere new, there's people to host you. Perhaps they can't give you shelter, but they can give you recommendations and a nice pick-up practice perhaps to call home, as Riot managed to overthrow Rachel Bradshaw.
I've couch surfed on many and Ultimate players' homes.
So Gerner resetting back to Brinjel. A nice swing across field. Klubitska of Poland there. The Eurostars are running 2 separate, distinct lines to try and just make the most of those quick connections that perhaps would be an advantage to Riot. Obviously, the club team playing together, getting lots of reps at practice. Whereas for the Eurostars, more likely to be playing against each other than with each other. Lindruts into Gerner. Zone look here from Riot, throwing a bit of a different defensive strategy, but seems to be working into the favour of the Eurostars right now. Visionary throw on that far sideline to Volchak.
They're putting quite a bit of intense pressure on that sideline mark, forcing outside and not allowing the easy dump around or up the line.
Well, I'll have to see if they manage to come away with the block for their efforts. Nice little slice through the middle to Gerner from the arm of Betty Schneidl. Brinjel. Nice find around, but great work from Riot, just stifling the upfield movement. Volchak, bit of a spicy thrower, threw a no-look scuba in the opening game of the women's under-24 final, sorry. But that's a huge play on that far sideline. What a grab, made the crowd gasp in excitement.
Incredible pressure there, and so they're having to pull out all the stops to keep the disc moving.
Brinjel has momentum, fakes the big one, but holsters it nicely. Johnson doing great work of covering the IO space and threatening that around pass. Nice find in the arms of Dole. Again, after making that incredible grab on the far side, finds Liv Kowalczak for the score. Nice and smooth. Eventually, the patience pays off, and that's a goal for the women of Europe.
That defense that Riot was putting on the Eurostars there forces the mini throws in the under, and so if they do get that wide swing around, it can be detrimental to the Riot D to recover, and that was exploited by the Eurostars there.
So Eurostars were back on serve, leading 4-3 ahead of Riot of Seattle. It's quite a cool day here in Memorial Stadium. Sun just starting to set to the left-hand side as our screens go to behind that end zone currently on the screen for you. Thank you ever so much for joining us here on this live stream. We have, of course, America's Pro Cups supported by the AUDL, and this is Seattle Cascades home stadium, who actually have 3 different sort of variations of their roster. They have an open side, a mixed side, and also a women's side. The women, of course, playing in the series on the West Coast Select, I think it was being referred to this season, playing against the San Diego Wolfpack, for his example, who we had the pleasure of being joined in the booth by one of their players. But a few days ago, although it seems like a long time.
You can when you're traveling up and down the coast like your schedule looks like.
Indeed. So great to have the Cascades supporting the Eurostars Tour for a 3rd year in a row. So Riot now, O-line once again taking the field. Nice find on that far sideline. Person defense from the Eurostars keeping things consistent as we see Charlie ID throwing a little bit of a miscued pass there. Not sure who the intended target was, but I'm not sure turf.
I believe there was actually a hand block on that. That's
oh,
what
wow.
happened. Yep.
There you go.
Number 28 got her hand on it. Sarah Tosnerova.
Tosnerova, very nice. Yes, an excellent job for a challenge for you, AJ, to pronounce some of these less familiar names.
Challenge I won't start apologizing for now, because I might be apologizing the entire live stream, but I do appreciate the diversity of the teams from the Eurostars.
Well, that's what it's all about, and Trubitska is going to put a beautiful put high lefty grab Alica Tizik for the score, and that's a break for the Eurostars. Fabulous stuff. They now lead the charge 5-3. Oh, and there's a little penguin celebration. Fun fact for you, AJ, at the moment we're, as I said, the Seattle community are so kindly hosting the Eurostars players, which is an absolute pleasure. As I already mentioned, we've been treated to hospitality from the Vajus, Marlene and Eric. Shout out to you if you're watching this game back. The parents of Jack, of course. But we've all got different bird names for our cars. So myself and EK, one of our beautiful team managers, Elizabeth Kunzelman-Ray, we're the Eagles. And we've got penguins, we've got canaries, and flamingos. So watch out for those celebrations on this course.
That sounds like a good bit of fun there. Yeah, I actually had the pleasure of hosting 9 Eurostars last year at my home. It was great to connect with old friends and make new ones, and that again goes back to why I've been playing Ultimate for over 22 years. It's that just great community that you have really never seen in any other sport.
Certainly that was something poignant for me. We were delighted to join Ren Caldwell of Strive and Uplift yesterday evening for a chat about gender equity. We're discussing the value of women in their respective federations represented. We have 12 different nations of Europe in front of us, and definitely one of the key things for me was remembering that why I play this beautiful sport is so much about the community of players, especially strong female players around us. So Riot now off to the races. Johnson on the disc, the number 1. He's going to put it out into the space. There's lots of players around it, but scooting through. That's a huge play from Samantha Rodenberg, just streaming through like a bus
One of the things I love about the women's game is the control, the body control that they actually demonstrate while still making incredibly athletic plays. She controlled her body going through that space and still came up with the disc despite the pressure from the D.
Yeah, Rodenberg there giving a masterclass in closing speed. Clearly an individual who works out their body a lot, because that's how you get that explosive power. It's one of the things I'm always so impressed about in the women's North American scene in particular, is just the commitment to athletic training and lifting. Although, saying that, I always give a rep to Livka Volchak's Insta presence. She's #Fitspiration for days. Her Instagram, I think it's Livka Vol. You'll have to check out Insta for the exact spelling of that one. But it's always just videos of her lifting or doing runs with a parachute behind her back. Have you ever doubled in that field yourself, AJ?
Oh, how did you know? I actually have a strength and conditioning certification, and I was a master's degree in motor behavior, which is largely about the movement of the human body.
Amazing. I actually had no idea, AJ.
So clever. Yeah, believe it or not, I was an electrical engineer as an undergraduate and went into technology early on in my career, but I've always had a passion for sport. And I actually, much like Rory Titcombe, the coach, had suffered several ACL reconstructions, and I wanted to stop. And I had teammates that also were dealing with pretty significant injuries that impacted their ultimate careers. And so I invested in learning more about how to stay strong and play the sport.
So, Riot now trying to prevent a Eurostar score, but that's a beautiful play. Looks like Rory Titcombe there coming streaming through. What a great read there. Didn't have to just make up for any kind of being caught out of position. Just read the play wonderfully. Such an experienced player is Chyna.
It was Chyna, and the funny thing about it is that the Titcombe family is so heavily invested in the ultimate community in, honestly, the entire country, but very specifically in Seattle. They have many businesses related to ultimate and ultimate community building. They create camps for kids, and Chyna is playing on the team today, and Rory is a coach.
Indeed, I've had the delight and pleasure of meeting almost all of the 5 Titcombe siblings. Oh, and it's a great play, but just a little bit shy of making the grab as Molly Sinnott there. Going up big, but just fingertips grazing the disc perhaps.
Yeah, I could tell she decided to go up a little bit early because of that pressure that was there, but unfortunately it was a second too soon.
So Seattle trailing 2 breaks, but there's an error, unforced a little bit there. Just getting the better of Sara Toshnerova. And we'll see Cardenas striding towards the disc to get us back in play. Nice moves around to Titcombe. Up to Shearer Stern on the far side. Nice around to Ishmael. You already mentioned, AJ, the foot block that Ishmael had at Wells back in Heidelberg, and that's a huge grab out of the sky.
Molly Matt Keown.
Ishmael looking to distribute, knocking on the doorstep of the end zone. Oh, an inside backhand, not often you see those. Oh, and Cardenas using creativity, but Dumanskaya, of course, renowned for being a big unit for the European scene. Spats it into the ground.
Yeah, she actually stayed with us last year, and I was like, I don't think you're going to fit through the doorway. We have an older home, and the ceilings are not so tall.
So a huge D from Dina Dumanskaya. It was fun to watch her match up against Dina Elimelech of Wildfire at the last game, Battle of the Dinas. I was saying, AJ, that we should basically have a little a Battle of the Dinas, make it a little bit more formal, and at the end of it, because they spell their names differently. Dina Dumanskaya spells it D-I-N-A. Of course, Dina Elimelech spells it D-E-N-A. So I reckon we should have a fight between the two of them. Not physical, aggressive fight, but perhaps, some sort of ultimate combine, perhaps. and then the winner of it has to then change the spelling of their name to reflect the other as a sign of respect.
That would be the ultimate sign of respect. We might need to call one of their parents first before we sign them up for that one.
That's true. So if you are enjoying this live stream, please do consider making a donation. You can buy tickets for the games if you happen to be lucky enough to be in one of the locations we are heading over to. Next up on Saturday, we'll be in San Francisco, in El Cerrito specifically. I believe that's within the Bay Area region. So if you live there and you want to see the Eurostars fighting against Fury, please do purchase tickets online. You can get them in advance or on the door. After that, we'll be popping over across to the East Coast. We'll be looking at Raleigh, North Carolina to play against Phoenix, not Phoenix, goodness. Put my teeth back in. And of course, Game 5 against Boston Brute Squad, then Chicago Nemesis, and finishing off by no means least. Last will be Heist of Madison. Then we'll be flying back home. It's a whistle-stop tour. I'm sure we'll get to the end of it and be a bit dazed and confused. But if you do happen to live anywhere near those games, I highly recommend coming out and supporting the tour. Proceeds from those ticket sales and all donations will go to directly supporting the player costs here. So if you want to try and relieve the financial burden, this is a pro tour. There is, of course, most Ultimate is completely self-funded, which is obviously a challenge for those that perhaps, maybe aren't from quite such affluent locations, whether that's in terms of neighborhoods or nations. It's be great to have your support if you love this project, love what it's trying to achieve, or just a fan of women's ultimate frisbee. So 4th on the far sideline, back to Mondiaux. Fiery fakes through again this zone look of Seattle Riot. Tizik, a nice little find in the middle. She's a sneaky and wily cutter, is Elisa Tizik of Russia. Coming off a season that's already managed to snag plenty of bling. European beach gold medal, and that is a huge pass from Mondiaux that's going to be snaffled up by Ishmael. Big fiery fake of the heart, but holstered nicely. Cardenas now finds McKeon. A nice reset, big play, cut developing from Shearer Stern from the back of the stack, and that's a nice disc out into the space. Perfect placement, could not have asked more of the throw there. Molly Sinnott scoring a break for Riot, but there seems to be some call on the field that might bring us back. What's your read on the play there, AJ?
Unfortunately, I was so excited by the downfield action, I could not get a sense of what might have brought the call on. But the way the way that Shearer threw that disc to Molly Sinnott in the end zone was practically undefendable without a significant heroic leap.
So it looks to be from the signals, the hand signals on the field, looks to be either a travel or a foul call. I think it might have been an contested foul on the mark of Tizik. Some low crossed over arms is what I spied. But either way, the disc will come back into the hands of Shearer Stern. See if we might get a replay. Oh, but just goes a little bit behind. Not quite the delicate execution this time. Sinnott unable to come up with the goods. And the Eurostars with the disc back in the hands of their offense. That's a huge put from Beck's 4th into the hands of Lajma Kublichka, who finds a completely wide open Sarah Toshnedova. And what a way to respond after that tasty throw from Riot that got called back.
I was not surprised to see that disc go up from Beck's 4th. Whenever she gets an open lane like that with a runner on the run in the deep, she will put it up and is often rewarded for it.
It's something that you saw Wildfire do quite a few times, actually. It's just slightly sagging off 4th, allowing her the underspace. And it's, I think that's a very good example of why that's perhaps not the wisest move.
You need to get that mark on and get it quick. Speaking of fitness, Bex is someone who's really taken that to the core this year. Being a mom of 3 kids can be really challenging to find time to get the fitness in that you need, not only to play at your best performance, but also to prevent injury and feel good about it. And so she's been, I think she's actually working with a company to do a lot more sports performance training and focusing on that. She's looking really good this season.
She is indeed. In fact, that is, we've been supported here. We actually had the pleasure of even having some one-on-one coaching sessions from Game Point Performance, which is the company of which you speak. Goose and Kayla Helton were pretty much part of the Eurostars entourage down in San Diego. They ran us through the warm-up routine, which I was personally very impressed with. Lots of cues that really going into the depth of just preparing your body for playing a game of Ultimate. And hopefully that'll pay off, and we won't see any injuries this year. But Sarah Melvin of Ireland played the entirety of the last tour with a very damaged left hand, I believe it was. So one-armed Ultimate for Melvin. Still pretty pro-staty though, as we see that overshot from Riot. So an opportunity here for the Eurostars to extend the lead and bring it within one of the half. Half-time, of course, at 8 points here. Klobicka with the disc. The number 4 of Poland puts a visionary swing shot into the space to be chopped up by Wolczak. Kundalita looking a wee bit lost for options, but eventually Gerner through. The young German coming out of their junior circuit. Oh, Wolczak laying out the other fellow German on this line, but out of bounds, doesn't quite manage to toe it in. Oh, and that's a lovely upline shot from Weatherford. It's going to receive the disc back now in the centre of the field. What a distributor here for Riot. High disc though, goes a wee bit awry and overshoots Titcomb. Sorry, that's not Titcomb, that was Rachel Bradshaw even. Olivka Wolczak there calling the timeout though. And we have a wee discussion with the mark, just to decide when the stall count is going to come in when we get things back underway. So an overthrow of Rachel Bradshaw for Riot is going to give the Eurostars a relatively short field to work from here. But I wonder if perhaps, AJ, we might be treated to one of the world famous turnouts, if you're familiar with that phrase.
No, you're going to have to clue me in on that one.
So it's the idea of when you have, so there we had some players isolated in the end zone. So of course that's a situation as a defender you never want to be in. You never want to be, you know, just you and your particular assignment in person defense alone in the end zone, because of course the advantage so much in favor of the offensive player. But so it's the timeout call, which then of course allows pretty much all 6 other players to be very near you, if not in front of you. So all 6 defenders to equally be there. So oftentimes you'll see teams call a timeout in that position and then perhaps not quite execute as they would have hoped to. So giving away perhaps an advantage.
It can be. It can be pretty difficult to, I feel like as many games that I have played over the years in which you call that critical timeout right out in the red zone and you can't capitalize on it. You end up losing the momentum that you had and keeping the defense on their heels.
So what do you think of the field position here? Do you reckon it's going to be a turnout or a successful timeout?
Well, I'm sure the Eurostars are hoping it's going to be just like running a drill, which is what you would expect to see in this situation. But I can imagine that with the field that we have on there from Riot, they are looking to watch out for that fancy footwork that we were seeing midfield.
Well, here you see very typical Eurostars end zone setup, the vertical stack with a little dog leg. 2 players back. Gerner being given lots of room there, and immediately is the option. The 2 Germans at the back directing the play for the Eurostars. Briefly mentioned Gerner's appearance in the junior divisions back home in Europe. Played the under-20 division a tournament. I actually myself personally was at AJ at the tender age of 15.
I didn't even know what Ultimate was at 15.
Nor I, AJ. I learned at 16. I had a coach back home who never involved me. That was through a faith connection. But Volchak throwing a visionary put to gun, a nice roll curve swing.
A lot of patience being demonstrated here by the Eurostars.
Certainly is with Riot's poachy, zony look, but a sneaky Chavlichka in the far side. And that's a score for Grajnia. A good find. Just patience there, as you mentioned, AJ. Just calm and consistent. Ultimate pays off, and the Eurostars bring it within one of the half.
Quite a significant lead they've got here going into the half. Playing in tournament play over the years, that 7-4 score going into the half can often be difficult for teams to overcome, especially when the team in the lead takes the half on the next one.
So that is a run of breaks for the Eurostars by my count. So we were at 5-4 earlier, so extending the lead here in the first half, although this could potentially mirror what we saw in the Wildfire game, where the Eurostars were sitting pretty in the first half, kind of getting the lead, and then we saw Wildfire claw it back. And certainly something that I would expect Riot to be more than capable of. At the moment, though, they're just having a bit of a similar problem to what we saw in San Diego, just some perhaps miscued throws ever so slightly. They're throwing into sort of the right spaces, but perhaps we've seen execution a little bit too high or a little bit too far, giving the disc back to the Europeans, those errors kind of being a bit costly here.
There's a slight breeze that we're filling up here in the booth that actually plays out a little bit differently on the field that might be causing some of those elevated throws when they get to the receiver. Something I do believe we're going to see, though, is a little bit of grit and fire from the Riot side tonight, because as I mentioned earlier, Kelly Vegas Johnson has said that the team is really keen on winning, despite this feeling like a little too casual and a little too, they very rarely get to play at home, and they've been coming from hectic, busy days filled with work and coaching, because quite a few of them coach around the city. I reckon they're taking a look at the scoreboard and getting that fire started.
Well, that is what we'll hope to see. Riot coming out of the blocks nice and hungry here at Memorial Stadium. The America's Pro Cup, of course, on the line. But the Eurostars, of course, will be delighted if they can punch in a significant scoreline, having only gone to Universe and thus snagging the single point from the San Diego Wildfire game. $1,000 of prize money also available, as we see Yoshida there, the number 11 for Riot. A Japanese import, I believe, AJ?
That's right. I was actually talking with Dominique Fontenette earlier about what it's like having international players join their squad. They've got, as you mentioned earlier, Valeria Cardenas and Taida from Japan, or Kaida Yoshida from Japan playing with them, and it brings all the different perspectives of play to their season instead of the once or twice a year where they're competing internationally.
And it is a delight to see also some familiar faces on the field, as we see Bradshaw and Vizhu going to the races home, well, non-gender binary home personing up that far sideline. I was at Wells in Heidelberg a few weeks ago. I mulched the phrase there, but I stole that one from Georgina Morrison. She used it as gender-neutral homeboying, but I feel like that my word's slightly escaping me there. I think home personing
3 times fast.
Gender-neutral homeboy, gender-neutral homeboy, gender-neutral homeboy.
All right, you got it down. Noted, everyone.
But I feel like home personing. Maybe we can create a new phrase. But the give going on that far sideline was very good there, just churning up yards towards the end zone and grabbing one back. See if the Seattle's Riot can extend out this first half a wee bit longer. Riot, of course, being founded in 2000 after the former champion Seattle team, whose name escapes me because my notes disappeared on my laptop. They were founded in 2000, of course, named after the 1999 riots here in Seattle, snagging a USAU national silver in their second season back in 2001, and of course that World Championship in 2002 back in Hawaii.
A lot of really early successes for them, and I'll have you know it was called the Ultimate Players Association National Championships back in 2000.
Indeed, the old UPA. There are some. How many digits does your USAU/UPA number have, AJ?
Only 5.
Only 5. You're one of the young'uns.
One of the young'uns.
I've heard of individuals with just 2-digit long ones or single digits even.
No.
The real big dogs.
I will tell you, there was a time when they were selling lifetime memberships for maybe like $75, and I was like, oh, that's too much, because I was in college. I was like, that's too much, and who's going to be playing Frisbee that long? And here I am, kicking myself.
Well, I tell you what, who won't be kicking themselves is Ines Bringel, who puts up a big one, but pressure underneath from Cardenas. And Rodenberg's going to have that one not be connected with. It looked good, but just sat again for a little bit too long. Defenders able to come on in and make a sandwich of the intended receiver.
A tasty one, no doubt.
A tasty European sandwich with 2 slices of Riot either side. Cardenas, we already spoke about the international flavour, of course known for playing for Colombia and the Team Revolution, who are present in the Premier Ultimate League. Delight to see so many iterations of professionalism in the women's ultimate scene.
If you didn't get a chance to check the Premier Ultimate League, you definitely should find some of the games and the highlight reels online. Incredible levels of play and spirit and personship, if you will, during that season, and really has a lot of people hungry for more high-level women's ultimate being made available.
Well, that's the goal we're all trying to achieve. Nice little bit of isolation for Kawhi. Now, Seattle Riot off to the races. Cardenas finds Bradshaw.
I had the pleasure of playing with one of Valeria's teammates, Manuela, in the Color of Ultimate game in Atlanta this year.
Oh, and that's a great big layout from Valeria Cardenas, mentioning her twin sister, who's normally on the receiving side of those big shots, and that's an athletic play from the young Colombian, coming across and getting a little flavor of the US scene. Such athletic dynamism there.
Incredibly athletic. Manuela Cardenas, Gina Cartagena and Elizabeth Mosquera were also playing the Color of Ultimate game, also Revolution players who have made tours through the Seattle area and have been in the country this summer quite a bit, some teaching at Cut Ultimate camps and touring the nation, just exposing more people to Ultimate.
So Cardenas getting a break for Riot and bringing us once more back on serve. Riot stared down that 7-4 deficit and just gritted it out exactly as you called it, AJ. What do you think has been the big adjustment they've made these past few points?
Well, the chaos-style defense that they were playing earlier, which made it really difficult for the Eurostars to get the disc out of their backfield, wasn't as successful because the Eurostars are comfortable throwing large rounds to the players that the chaos defense doesn't account for. So I think they've tightened that up a bit with a bit more closer person D that's allowed them to get the disc on D. And then offensively, I think they're taking a bit more care of the disc, right? We've had a little elevated passes there that aren't connecting with the receivers.
I say we're getting back on serve. I have to actually double check my facts there as we see the Eurostars coming out here on offense. They're still leading by that one break after their run of 3. Dumanskaya, the player who you'd expect from her frame to be upfield, but actually prefers the handler position, and a Klubitschka launch into the far side of the end zone. And Melvin is the target. The power with which Lajma Klubitschka releases her throws is just so intense, AJ.
Yes, Sarah Melvin had to put on the power boosters to get to that disc before it made its way out of the end zone.
And so the Eurostars take half in style, lead 8-6, 2-point margin going into the second half. We'll be taking a 15-minute break here, though, to perhaps take on some water, some nutrition. And it's maybe a chance for us to have a little think about that game, AJ, and perhaps rest ourselves. We will be bringing you some little snippets from our sponsors. Before that, we'll be right back, though. Stay tuned here as this game develops. welcome back to halftime here at the Eurostars Tour. Game 2 here in Seattle, whereas the Eurostars are battling against Seattle Riot, who, well, to be honest, I have to say, are putting up quite the fight. They were sat at 7-4, a significant deficit, and then clawed 2 on the bounce to take us to 8-6 here in halftime. We are delighted to bring you coverage here from an all-female crew. I'm joined by AJ and Brianna Beard here in the booth this fine, mild, slightly breezy evening. And we have Callie Marr and Sarah Edwards here behind us, keeping the camera views crisp and clean and bobbing and weaving with us here in the booth. So do make sure you keep your eyes peeled to Facebook, where we'll be streaming the coverage from the rest of the series here. 5 more games after this one's over. We'll have, of course, Fury over in San Francisco, El Cerrito High School Stadium on Saturday. That game starts a little bit earlier at 6 o'clock in the evening. Always not sure if 6 o'clock, AJ, is evening or sort of late afternoon. What's your take on that one?
Definitely evening for the over 40 crowd.
So then I'll be heading over to the East Coast, Raleigh, North Carolina, to play against Phoenix, Boston Brute Squad, Chicago Nemesis, and of course Madison's Heist. Make sure you do keep your eyes peeled for those games. They'll all be broadcast on Facebook, Eurostars Tour on all social media, and EurostarsTour.com, as we see a lovely shot there of Livka Volchak sporting a fetching orange necky. Iconic look there from the young German player who lives in Rostock on the northern border. The German elite women tend to be fairly spread around their federation, much to the benefit of their club sides. Let's talk a little bit, though, AJ, about the jerseys of the Riot side. These lovely rainbow Riot logos. That's new to me. What's that one all about?
Well, as you mentioned earlier, they're pretty passionate about gender equity and representation and supporting Women X advocacy. And so they made the decision this year to take their white jerseys and take the traditional red flame of their logo of 20 years we're looking at here, and make it the rainbow color this year.
Excellent. Well, it's fantastic to see, as we've got a nice shot there of Livka Volchak, kind of one of the perfect people to choose ahead of us, mentioning that in terms of, she actually has some fetching rainbow brigade shorts. She's brought with her the Look Fly short shorts, which I have to say, as my home nation, Great Britain, have some lovely fetching blue ones that were hot property throughout the national side tournaments. Also, I have to give a huge shout out to the European Youth Ultimate Championships, which is currently underway. Of course, those in the Central European time zone will probably be fast asleep by this point. Local time, they're 5:15. But if you are tuned in here, please do give us a shout. We see an overthrow. Okay, the Yoshida not able to come down with the goods there. Yoshida also present on the Asian Oceanic All-Stars Tour that came over the States last year. Great to see that program as the Eurostars punch in a goal to start off this second half with a break, a Russian connection to Alisa Tizik in the end zone.
The Eurostars are definitely taking advantage anytime Riot is unable to bring the disc to their own end zone. That rapid delivery of the disc from the offender's hands is part of their style and part of what Riot is looking to shut down today with their traditional defenses.
And you see there Beck's fourth, Rebecca fourth, the birthday girl. Not going to mention exactly how old she is in the stream. She did ask me not to do so. I do know that. It's a well-kept secret.
Oh,
she looks about 12, though.
She does have a youthful appearance, hands down. Hands down. But I can tell you that we're not too far from each other in age. How about that?
Well, you both wear it wonderfully well, AJ.
Thank you very much.
And I'm sure I would probably find it still a fairly hard task to mic either of you on an ultimate field. Because not only do you have excellent experience, but you're both in excellent shape.
We try to, you got to hold it down. Well, like I said, when you're chasing 3 kids that are challenging you every day to stay your fittest, you do not want to let them get too far ahead of you.
Certainly. And the Becks Bexford, the fourth family are pretty much athletes through and through. Fantastically successful at the moment in training for gymnastics. They gave us a delightful show back in San Diego. We're missing them now, though. I'm sure they're tuned in, though, glued to the screen as they see the Eurostars now trying to prevent Riot from posting another one into the board. Weatherford surveying options upfield, finds Yoshida. Cheeky give go. Nice find in terms of Shira Stern, though.
Shira's style of play is quite calm with the disc, but explosive in her cuts.
Well, we've certainly seen that displayed as another slightly high disc from Riot. It's going to be scooped out of the air by Barbora Kundelita. Shlavichka in the center of the field now. Nice position. Finds Schneidl. Oh, a layout grab there, keeping possession alive. Schneidl not the fastest on the Eurostars roster, but nice to see her returning after being on the tour back in 2017. The Austrian player actually credited the Eurostars tour for keeping the love of the sport alive. Her home team, box, she helps to coach, and also the national side. Present at the European Ultimate Championships, where pretty much all of the Eurostars roster were there. And of course, congratulations to the Irish women's team, who even got a tweet from their president. The Irish president tweeted their success in their silver medals. We see a disc going into the end zone for Riot, and that's a beautiful reception for Shira Stern, the goal.
There you saw that explosive power from Shira running toward the back cone in the end zone.
So Riot putting up an absolutely sensational flick there. Perfectly weighted, but you have to credit the separation for Shira Stern. Looking very lonely in that near side corner.
It's funny you should mention loneliness. One of the reasons Shira actually comes back year after year, she's been playing for 7 years with Riot, is the relationships, the close bonds that they actually make with each other that go beyond just how to play well and how to play technically accurate, but also like who they are as people is part of why she really enjoys playing with the Riot squad.
Well, there's definitely a lot of love on the Riot roster. That is, as we already mentioned, one of their 3 key words. Excellence, trust and love. It's great to see them out here on the field, looking very capable. And of course, to talk about the shape of this game, how it's played out thus far, the D-line of Seattle came out strong and took that initial break. Some good holes in there, not that many clean ones until we saw Riot's O-line coming out for the first time and scoring in 3 passes, looking very confident. But Melvin's going to open up the big backhand and fight underneath it, but what a read! That's great positioning from the Czech Republic player, Sarutosh-Nerova. And I'm sure her sister Rachel will be delighted to watch that one back on the highlight reel.
Yeah, one of the things we're seeing a lot of tonight from the Eurostars players are big smiles. This opportunity for them enables them to, one, travel obviously across the pond for many, to the United States and play some of the top teams in the world. And they're definitely delighted to play with each other, but also to play against these teams.
So a great read from Tesnerova. Getting the score for the Eurostars. They now lead by 3 in this match, 10-7. Not the first time that Seattle have looked up a bit of a deficit. Perhaps a slight mountain to climb. But by no means insurmountable as we reach towards the business end here at Memorial Stadium.
I didn't want to get too inappropriate with a follow-up on the business end comment, but these two teams are definitely taking care of business, or a little TCB, as we like to say.
It's all about the TLAs as we see Vazoo find Yoshida. displacement from them. A cheeky inside to Tipton. Seeing him pin up nicely, finding the around. And it's a score for Riot. Smooth and easy does it. Set up by the break of the arm of, was that Julia Snyder setting that one up with the hockey assist?
The hockey assist.
I think it was, did Snyder throw the scoring pass? I couldn't quite.
I couldn't see it either.
Either way, wonderful stuff. Julia Snyder, one of the captains of Seattle Riot, known for having excellent organisation skills. All about the colour-coded Google Docs.
Linnea Sue, who caught that pass in the end zone for Riot, is also a 23. And so it seems like we've got two teams that like to keep it duplicated. As we mentioned earlier, the weather's quite cool, not too breezy, and despite some of the elevation that we've seen in the Riot throws earlier, that's led to some breaks by the Eurostars. I believe they've recognized the impact it's had on their offensive flow, and as you saw in this last point where they were switching the field a bit more before attacking, has allowed them to bring that last one home. Disc is moving quite fast here between the Eurostars players, using their classic inside throws and dishy fast movement. And here we go again with Beck's Force with a quick throw up the line. Couldn't quite see who caught that one. That is Lamska Kubliczka with the reception in the end zone. Beck's having played both European and American Ultimate for many, many years, blends the two styles almost seamlessly in her play when playing with European players. So you'll see a lot of that quick cross-field movement, or excuse me, short pass movement to an early flick hucks to open defenders with that early separation. I was speaking with the coaches earlier today before the game. Like I mentioned, Rory Titcomb, Gwen Ambler, and Andy Loveseth, who are longtime coaches for the various teams in the Seattle area. And Gwen and Rory both have played with Seattle Riot, and I asked them about their approach to taking Riot through to a win for this game. And one of the main things they need to do is apply a defense that can shut down those quick passes that get their big handlers the disc. And that's why they were trying earlier to use their chaos defense, which is where they just get in there and try to keep the offense guessing and put them on their heels despite the fact that they have control of the disc. And here we have Sheena Titcomb with the disc looking for Jack Verzu, who is not open, but the quick movement of Alyssa Weatherford. Always calm, cool, and collected with the disc. Swing to Jack Verzu. A little bit of traffic in the middle of the field there. No pick was called, however, but very tight play. Hot grab from Abby Abramovich. Back to Alyssa in the middle. Swinging around for a nearly wide open Jack Verzu, but incredible talent and height and body control allowed them to bring the disc down. But it appears there's still a call on the field. Looks like a foul call by number 33, Paulina Duhl. Might have to retract what I said about body control, but definitely the European style of contact is a lot more hands-off, if you will, than what you may see in the United States. So it looks like the disc is going to go back to the thrower, Alyssa Weatherford. I didn't see if it was contested or uncontested. It was contested. And once again, delivered to Jack Verzou in the end zone for the goal. Persistence and determination. They never stopped cutting there, despite obviously thinking about having a foul called on them earlier. And Jack still came through with the disc. I know you're probably a little bored with this not so exciting American accent, but dealing with this minor technical difficulties up here, but hopefully we keep you engaged on what's happening with the game. Still a bit of a gap in the score between Seattle Riot and the Eurostars in this 2019 America's Cup. If you are not able to make it to the game, be sure to ask your friends who were able to get out here for one of their really cool stickers. My kids are huge fans of the Eurostars stickers and have decorated many parts of our house with the stickers from the America's Pro Cup and the Eurostars from 2018.
We'll still replace it with them, so.
All right, pull is up from Seattle Riot. Dina has the disc. That's literally the exact same passing sequence that happened in the last point. Got Sarah Melvin with the disc in the middle of the field. Lots of give and goes there. Quick handler movement. Sarah Melvin confidently controlling her body through a lot of traffic. Again, you see a zone type D from Seattle Riot here. It's not preventing the small handler throws from the Eurostars. See Bex there, grab at her throat. Apparently did not realize her teammate was there to receive that disc. Threatening down the line. Wide open Eurostar players, two of them on the far side of the field, but the handlers do not see it. Looks like they might need to get back in motion. Not necessary. The Riot defense seemed to have a bit of a breakdown there, leaving two Eurostars players unmarked in the end zone for a good portion of that red zone play there.
It seems to be, AJ, that perhaps sometimes Seattle are favouring trying to play smart defense. You mentioned the fact that they were playing a chaos style, trying to cause confusion, but it just seems that the Eurostars are able to patiently eventually find and abuse the poached off player. We certainly saw Bex Forth making great use earlier on in the game of being sagged off as a handler. No mark really to speak of being applied and able to launch it deep. And throughout this game, we've seen little channels of that. But it'd be nice to see Seattle coming out with the fire we saw at the end of the first half, as I am able to find some electricity and bring my voice back to this live stream. But AJ, you've done a phenomenal job there.
Happy to have you back.
Well, to give you full credit, for those of you who aren't aware, this is AJ's first time here in the booth. If you'd like to hear more of her dulcet tones on the live stream, do get in touch with me on Twitter at DiscGal31 if you're loving AJ's commentary style here. Or you can leave us some comments on Facebook. The live stream is, well, that's the home of the live stream on Facebook. We were on YouTube last time, bit of bobbing and weaving here with our setup. But thank you for bearing with us through these technical difficulties as Riot get us back underway. Weatherford finds Bradshaw. Or is that Titcomb? They're so similar in stature, featuring ponytails, and the 9 and 8 look very similar underneath this light. I was fooled earlier thinking that Bradshaw was Titcomb, and now it happens the other way around as we see Yoshida on the disc. Already mentioned, present on the Oceanic Tour last year. Disc goes up high, but who gets under it, popping out like a salmon from water? Jack Verzou.
Very apt as a long-time Frisbee player in the Pacific Northwest community. Salmon are tasty, and they do pop.
Indeed. Like jumping up river, Jack Vazou using their stature to great effect. Does it cleanly this time. Love the smile on Paulina Dull's face there as she comes through, having had the unenviable task of matching up against Vazou, such a capable athlete.
Oh, I am liking the looks of this line from Riot from a defensive position. Kelly Vegas Johnson is a formidable athlete on the field and is, dare I say, an insufferable mark. And so be interested to see if she, based on her comments from before the game, is going to bring the intensity both for herself and her team. She's often cited as someone who is very intense and very focused on the objective, just playing well, playing high quality, and she doesn't just save that for herself, she tries to translate that for the rest of her team.
Well, you can see exactly that there, the focus on Johnson's face. Just clearly such a strong mentality. Rory Titcombe there, the one of the coaching unit of Riot. Sister to China, an X10 who's been like a champion today, helping us set up here at Memorial Field. Shout out to him, Brian, and all of the Cascades crew. And of course, our wonderful set of volunteers. If you'd like to support these games, please do go to EurostarsTour.com and donate. Sarah Melvin, the Irish athlete on the disc. Cheeky lefty backhand. This season's favourite throw, it seems. Koshnerova to Tizik. Klubitschka not able to turn as fast to hit the inside channel, and a suspiciously free Domanskaya in the end zone, and an well, as we all expected, the pick call corresponding.
That's right.
So Melvin, disc on the goal line, looking to take this within 2 for the Eurostars, puts it out into the space, and Domanskaya opens up the stretch of her legs and celebrates the score.
I think I'm pretty sure I saw twice as many steps from her defender as Dina had to take to get that separation.
I believe she was matched up by Samia Ismail, the gold medalist from Heidelberg, but a few short weeks ago, it seems, put a big stamp on that tournament, literally with the foot block that it left me breathless, that play from Ismail. If you haven't already seen it, please do make sure you get yourself onto the various Ultimate social medias and hunt for it. It's a clip worth finding. So as we experience further, our technology this fine evening is throwing everything it can at us to try and knock off the stream, but we will diligently power through and fight to ensure the continuance of the action here. But in the meantime, the Eurostars sitting just 2 points shy of the win here. Seattle will by no means be thrown off the scent, though. They'll be hunting for every single point. So Weatherford, nice find, scooped up by Hannah Kawai. Vazou's going to launch it up into the end zone. What a reception for Riot! That's a great play. Sennheiser turns on the burners, charges towards the end zone. And that's a beautiful, clean hold for Riot. Exactly what the doctor prescribed here, as they still face a 2-point deficit. But with plays like that, it's going to fire up their D-line, hopefully find enough energy to snag a break back off the Eurostars.
For those of you who are watching from home, you can see the time here is actually getting very near. 10 minutes remaining, and we have yet to have a team reach 15. We might actually see one of the first games going all the way to time.
Well, that would be a first. I mean, I'm certainly hoping. I have to be partisan up here in the booth, even though I'm traveling around with my good friends on the Eurostars roster. I have to be well, impartial up here in the booth. And I just want to see this game go on as long as humanly possible. Such incredible athletes across the field here. At the moment, I think probably, if you had to pick one of these plays, AJ.
Definitely in the first half, the play by Samantha Rodenberg, who appeared between two defenders with effortless control of her body to close on a disc in the end zone. That was one of my choices.
Well, we'll have to see if the ultimate gods agree with you and make that our Rolgit play of the game. But meantime, we'll see if there's any more juice to be squeezed out of the lemon in the business end of this matchup. Dumanskaya, the distributor, with the disc in hand. Mondio coming under, fellow handler, plays for the French club side, Yaka. Famous as she is on the European scene. And a lucky one, she fell foul of a seagull as we were enjoying the delights of La Jolla Cove in San Diego. Selected out.
Like she caught it squarely on herself?
It was all over the side of the sun hoodie.
Oh, they say it's good luck. They say it's good luck, and so is that catch in between two Riot defenders in the end zone.
Kubluska hopping up between the two sandwiching Riot defenders. A goal, and that's the Eurostars bringing it to match point here with 8 minutes left on the clock. And no mistake which of the cars Kubluska's in. The Penguin celebration. We did see on the previous goal a flamingo score, but what a put up into the space from Bexforth. Sits and hangs, but the credit goes to the Reed. Kubluska's got her glasses on this evening.
One of the things that I, again, mentioned earlier about the control of, I believe, the women's game, I tend to see a lot more consideration for each other's ability to continue playing after a game while still also bringing that intensity. Body control, fouls and body contact, all of those are really important components of the spirit of the game. And Riot is known for actually being top spirit players in the USA Ultimate scene and internationally. Despite the reputation often for U.S. teams to be a bit more physical in the world stage, spirit is a big, important part of the way Riot plays on and off the field.
Well, you can see there on your screen the Eurostars line deciding who's going to pull this point. The first opportunity. Not true O-lines and D-lines for the Eurostars. It's just line A and line 1, as teams often would refer to them, because it's not certainly a case of A and B talent across the board, but Seattle's O-line hoping to hold on and keep this game alive. Nice giving and going between the handlers. Sandheiser now on the disc finds Su, who immediately, look at the pace with which she takes off after distributing the disc. Vajou surveying the end zone, going to need to take the reset though. Kawhi pops up to Weatherford. One of the most capable handlers in the women's game. Vajou there for the reset. Obviously being such a threat in the deeper spaces. An easy poach off, but that's a great little pigeonry piece of work. A find in Bailey Sandheiser. They grab the score for Seattle Riot, popping one more on the board and keeping the dream alive.
If I may say, I appreciate Bailey's calm, cool, and collected non-spike of the disc in the end zone. One of the things I've noticed over the years, and this may be, again, dating myself, was spiking wasn't a thing. And with the increase in visibility and live streaming, there's a bit of actually excitement around spiking. So there's quite a bit of creativity and disc spice that I've seen over this season, especially the Eurostars have some pretty creative and crafty ones.
Well, it's nice to see a little bit of a celebration. My personal take on it is always about making sure that you're respecting the equipment on the field. If your spike leads to a taco, I'm not a fan.
Not a fan.
But it's also an interesting point to see the reactions of people, different, to talk about perhaps, the themes around the colour of Ultimate, the response that there's been to when certain players from different, backgrounds, perhaps different, people of colour. There seems to be an interesting reaction there. That's all I'm going to say, for you to perhaps consider yourselves on this live stream, but how different players are treated when they spike the disc compared to others, I think is a crucial question that needs to be considered at length. You see the Gwen Ambler there, though, with the clipboard in hand and a wonderful hairdo showing the natural curls there. Became a mother recently as Ambler looking to return to the field, but referred to as the Brett Favre of Ultimate Frisbee, having retired in air quotes quite a few times and returned to the field, much to everyone's delight. Mine personally as well. Gwen Ambler is one of those individuals that, watching the old footage of her playing, I try my best to emulate her spirit and play style on the field.
I believe when I first moved to Seattle, I was really excited about the players that were here in the community and the reputation that they had. I'd been playing, like I said, in Texas for many years before coming up here, but I had a lot of awe in the way people compose themselves on the field.
So the Eurostars with their first offensive possession, staring down the barrel of a win here. If they can execute the game plan as intended. Mondiaux firing the disc up to Kublitschka. Has Dumanskaya available for the reset. Nice moves from the young Russian. Although one of the older players on this team, Tizik, throwing a beautiful low inside. Nice sitting in that pivot and a distribution from the captain for the win. Eurostars take it in emphatic style. And another score for Lajma Kublitschka. Commiserations to Seattle Riot, playing so well throughout the game, but just so many momentum swings in favour of the Eurostars. Some channels of breaks that just gave them that lead that they sat on, held on to for the rest of it.
There were definitely some shining moments in the game. Like we mentioned earlier, the breakthrough closing speed from Samantha Rodenberg earlier for a score. And then, of course, that great layout D from Valeria Cardenas in the end zone for the score were great candidates for the play of the game. What do you believe was really standing out for you in this